Hi, guys. We are here with Samantha Peters, a podcast host, author, and business owner. She helps men and women rewire their subconscious mindsets through their insightful journals, transformative podcasts, and inspiring speaking engagements. She has a master's degree in educational leadership. Wow. And has been featured on Ed Mylett's TV show for her profound story and on San Diego's weekly magazine. Congratulations. That's
Thank you
amazing.
so
Are
much.
you from San Diego?
I'm not from San Diego, actually. I love visiting there, and I have quite a few friends there, but I live in Connecticut on the opposite side of the U.S.
Wow. Oh, so it's late for you now. Wow. Thank you for coming in late. I wish I knew. I thought you were on my side, and now I feel bad. I'm holding you
No
up
worries.
so late. I would like to know, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do, anything you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, I got my master's in teacher leadership. So I was a teacher for over a decade and I helped to write curriculum and teach professional developments. But I felt like I needed to make a bigger impact on the world. So I ended up leaving my teaching career. And during the time, about 2 years before I left, I got into network marketing. So I started my own business in the wellness and beauty industry. And I feel like it just gave me a completely different perspective on life about, really cultivating that entrepreneurial mindset where you don't have to trade time for money, collaborating and networking with people can get you so far. And that's when I started diving into personal development and learning all of that. And, yeah, it's been an amazing ride. I started my podcast about 2 years ago and I became an author. So there's just so many incredible things that have happened over the past few years since I did leave my teaching career.
Yes, you said beauty and wellness. Is that what is that? You have a spa or?
So it's a network marketing company. It's called Monate. It's short for Modern Nature. So it's all anti-aging, hair care, skincare, wellness, and we also have makeup now. And I just really align with the concept and the company because it's all non-toxic, and I'm huge into
Nice.
wellness and making sure that whatever you're putting on your scalp and your skin is non-toxic and it's not disrupting your hormones in any way.
That's amazing. I'm all about that, and I'm glad you shared that. And I'm gonna look into it because, uh, yeah, we put so many chemicals on us and inside, of course. Yes, definitely. If you don't mind, actually sending me a link afterward, then I'm gonna add it to the reel or to the video so that we
Yeah,
can share. Yeah,
absolutely.
and what about education? You wanted to get out of the rat race and out of that. I'm assuming you weren't with the agenda, with the whole woke agenda that's happening in our.
Yes. Yeah. I a lot of it I just didn't align with the values, and so I remember they took us through this DEI training, and a lot of it I don't align with, where they want us to teach our kids that depending on your race, that's when you can succeed, or not depending on if you're white or black, you can't achieve certain things in your life. And I'm a true believer that it doesn't matter your race, or it doesn't matter your background or where you come from. You can absolutely transform your life. And it's only those people that are telling you those red light stories and putting those limitations on you, whether you can succeed a lot. And a lot of times I think people believe those stories, right? I believe those stories for so long about myself. And it's not until you really start to unpack those and realize that so many people are projecting their limiting beliefs and their thoughts onto you. And so it was a huge wake up call, and I just couldn't align with it. And so I ended up leaving. That was one of the main reasons.
Wow. I was actually very curious about this whole concept too. And I went to University of South Florida, and I took two courses, and I was like, I need to get to the bottom of this. Like, what is this? Why are you guys promoting this? What is going on with this agenda? And yeah, it didn't make sense to me either. I did take those courses. But yeah, I'm with you. I just, especially like another problem that I have, it's what's happening in California right now. You can't tell your parents if you want to change your gender, and then they could actually,
That is
no.
absolutely insane, because your frontal lobe is not developed until, I think for men, it's 25 years old. So your frontal lobe is your decision-making factor of your brain. And at 5 years old, you have no idea what that even means. And so to be able to tell our children and to basically indoctrinate them and force them to believe in something, I just cannot get behind at all.
No, not at all. And yeah, I want to know about your like upbringing, childhood, how you became who you are.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, unfortunately, I did grow up in a very toxic upbringing. When I was about 7 years old, so in second grade, I remember my mom used to be an optician, and she ended up getting MS, which is multiple sclerosis. And so she was going through so many treatments. She ended up losing her job and going on Social Security disability. And about a year later, my father ended up getting hurt as well. And he ended up, going on Social Security. So we were essentially living off the state. And my father was never a positive person. He is an alcoholic. He still is, unfortunately. And during that time he had his surgery, he was prescribed Oxycontins. And so he was mixing them, and, it inhibits your ability to, like we talked about, making decisions, and, it really alters and it brings out the devil in you. And so I never knew what type of father I was going to wake up to. It was always walking on eggshells, whether he was going to scream at us or yell or tell us we did something wrong, because, I truly believe that hurt people, and they project their pain onto others because they can't deal with it internally. So they have to, make other people feel as worse as they did. And so unfortunately, he was never able to heal and accept that you don't have to live by the memories of your past. Because one thing that I had to learn is I kept replaying all of the scenarios and all of the horrible things that he said and did to me. And I was taking myself back to those moments, and you're reliving them. And you have to detach, and you have to realize that you don't have to live that way anymore. You can create a new future for yourself. So, that was, there's, so much more that I've had to go through with my family. But that was how I grew up. It was always walking on eggshells. I never feel like I could express my needs because it was always about them, and it was never about me.
Wow. I am at a loss for words. And you know what? I'm like, wow, this is so powerful. But at least you have a pretty nose. My dad, he jacked up the hell of my nose. You see how bad it is?
Oh no.
Yeah. Me and you, we have a lot in common here. Yeah. What about, you have sisters, brothers?
Yeah, I have two brothers. I have an older brother, and I have a younger brother who is 5 years younger than me. And that's a whole story within itself. A lot of people will use coping mechanisms that, I talk about in my journal, and I'm sure we'll get to that point. But a lot of people will suppress their pain, and they'll use, alcohol or drugs to numb what they've been through. And unfortunately, my little brother experienced about 10 years of in and out of the hospital, going to rehab. And one of the moments, it makes me emotional. This was about 2 or 3 Christmases ago. I just remember, and this is one of the pivotal things that really changed and, excelled me wanting to help and make a difference and share my story, because I truly believe that you can serve and help the people that you once were. And so I just remember the doctors calling me, it was around Christmas, saying that he was in a coma. And I just remember going to the hospital and sitting with him on Christmas morning, holding his hand, and he was hooked up to, a breathing tube and all of this oxygen. And I just remember holding his hand, talking to him and telling him that I'm going to be the one in the family that changes our life, and we're going to break these generational curses. So that was a really rock bottom moment for me, seeing my little brother go through that. But it's definitely helped propel me to all of the difference that I'm making today. And he's doing really well right now. So I'm glad to say that.
Thank God.
He transformed his life. But yeah, it was hard going through. And in those moments, you're like, what is happening? And, I'm a huge believer in faith, and I know you are too. And I just knew that God had such a bigger plan for us. But in those moments, it was very, very difficult.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine. And what about your dad? Is he in a better place now? Is he?
My father?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, unfortunately, he still drinks every single day. I actually haven't really talked about this, and I'll share it with your audience and you, but he ended up calling me. I know that there's so many things going on astrologically right now, and a lot of deep-rooted emotions and relationship repairs coming up. And so he called me last week, and I was shocked because I don't have a relationship with him. I had to cut him out of my life. And he asked me what it would take for me to have a relationship with him again. And honestly, I was in shock. I didn't know what to say, but I told him that, he needs to take accountability for the person he was, and he has to stop playing the victim. And unfortunately, he still is in his ego, and he was yelling and going back to the person that I grew up knowing. And I had to hang up the phone. I'm like, there's no way I can continue this conversation. You're the one reaching out to me. You're asking me what you can do to repair our relationship, and then you're yelling at me and playing a victim. And I had to set those boundaries. I'm like, if you're going to speak to me this way, this is not going to help. So actually that just happened. So I'm still very protective of my energy because I've had to do so much inner work to get to the point where I am today.
I admire you for being so strong. And I think you do have compassion for him somewhere inside, because otherwise you probably wouldn't have answered his phone call. You do want to give him, another chance. And I think you've healed and you moved on from your past. I could clearly see that. But I'll pray that he'll get there. But I also can see that him having the courage, even to have the guts to try to reach out and call you, that's still commendable. Like we gotta give him that. At least he's battling some strong demons.
Absolutely. I agree. And I do think it's a step in the right direction, and I think he needs to think about and do a lot of introspection if he really does want to have a relationship with me. I know it's going to be very different than it was before, but we'll see. I'm definitely open to it, but I think it's also important that you don't let anyone bring you back to that unhealed, wounded version of you. So I'm very cautious about that too. But
yeah, and I don't want to add too much. Obviously, I don't want to bring you too much into that. But I, for me, what helped me move on was when I realized like there were things about him that I didn't know. Like I had no idea like what caused him to be that person. So when I started digging and I started asking relatives, like, tell me about his childhood. Was he traumatized? What made this man be so aggressive? Why was he an alcoholic? Why did he have to beat me up every single day growing up till I just said, I'm out of this freaking country and never go back? And so I actually found out that when he was, I think 18 or 20, he was a soldier, right? He was driving home and he saw this hitchhiker And he was like, oh, he stopped and he brought the guy in. He's like, okay, I'll give you a ride. He was asking for a ride. And then it was very foggy and he pressed the brakes because he noticed like last second there was a truck in front of him, but the hitchhiker jumped out and hit his head and died. So since then, like, he didn't go to jail because it wasn't his fault, but the parents of the hitchhiker were like always cursing him. I hope you die. It's your fault. And he started drinking. Wow. And he never could move on from that. So that's when it hit me. I'm like, wow, he's dealing with his own, he's had some problems. That's what caused him to be like that. So that's when I started healing. And maybe there's a reason why he is the way he is.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. He definitely had to go through a struggling childhood himself. And it's just, some people are able to face their demons and do the inner work. And I know it's really hard. Like, I commend you for doing that too. It's not easy. And I think for me, understanding and forgiving, I've forgiven him for the way he treated me, because that was the best in the best way possible that he could love me, because he was coming from such a wounded place. And I'm sure your father was too, but it's still not an excuse for the way that they treated us. And I'm sure for you, it's taken you a long time to realize your value and your worth, and to know that you deserve people to treat you well and with respect and to value you.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's been a really big thing for me. So,
yes, it's interesting how it's like, wow, all that trauma can affect the grown-up version of you. If you don't heal it, you just pick the wrong people. You just, you are so right. And I cannot wait to hear your journal. Oh my gosh. 101 journal prompts for healing childhood trauma.
Yes.
So it says, and I'm actually going to give a little description if you guys want to, a lot of people need this. This guided journal offers the transformative journey of self-discovery aimed at overcoming childhood trauma and fostering personal growth by exploring attachment styles, stress responses, and coping mechanisms through introspective prompts, serving as a tool for developing resilience and positive change. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm buying this tonight.
Yes. Thank you.
Wow.
We have it right here. It's very
love it. Love the color and branding. We're marketing people. Yes.
Thank you.
Love it. Good eye. Yeah. Wow. So what did you like, on a good note, what was your best childhood memory?
My best childhood memory? I'm very close with my grandfather. My grandmother unfortunately passed away, but I remember they used to have a 45-foot motorhome, and they took me and my older brother and my younger brother to Disney World in Florida. So we did about a 2-week trip, and it was just my grandpa. I respect him so much. He's one person in my life that's always given me unconditional love, and he's just always been so caring and so supportive of everything that I do. And so, just being on that trip with them, experiencing happiness and laughing and knowing that, people do truly love and care about me. I think that was one of, my best trip, because I just felt so valued and I felt cherished, and we just had such a blast.
It's crazy that it doesn't take much for a child to feel valued, right? Like a trip to Disney or, something like that. It's so important. What did you want to be when you were a kid? Like when people would ask you, because I'm assuming that's not just a Romanian thing. People would always ask, like, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Like, what was your answer?
It's funny you say that. I always wanted to be a teacher. And so that drove my passion for getting my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in the education field. And now I feel like I'm teaching, but just in a completely different way. And I'm sharing my story and using it to, help heal other people. So yeah, I've always wanted to be a humanitarian and to make a difference in this world. So it hasn't really changed. Just the people that I'm teaching has not changed.
That's amazing. Very, very inspirational. You're one of those rare kinds. What inspired you to write your journal, other than, of course, you want to say the story? And how do you, in other words, maybe a better question would be, how do you hope it will impact the lives of those who work through it? Like,
Yeah. So because I had, such a toxic upbringing, I had to dive into personal development and I had to realize my, coping mechanisms, my stress responses, my love languages, and all of the things that, made me who I was. But some of those things we have to realize as adults weren't serving us anymore. And I'll give you an example. So there's primary stress responses. A lot of people call them the 4F. So it's flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. And I realized in my life that I was fawning all of the time. And fawning is, people call it people pleasing. So when I was younger, it was always about my parents and my father and how he felt. And I learned to disassociate and I learned to just kind of tune everything out because it was always about them. And if I was happy or sad, it really didn't matter. So growing up, I had to care so much more about the way other people felt and what other people wanted to do. And I had to care more about their feelings than my own. And so fast forward to even a few years ago, and even in my 20s, I had to realize that I was letting other people make choices for me. Even though if I didn't align to it, I wanted to just make them happy. So whatever my boyfriends wanted to do at the time or whatever my friends wanted to do, I would just go ahead and do it because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. Because obviously growing up, if I spoke up, I was always screamed and yelled at. So I was diminished. And so I felt like I had to play small and my feelings didn't matter. And what I had to say had no importance. And so I had to realize very quickly that I was using that coping mechanism that maybe helped me when I was younger, but it wasn't serving me anymore. So that was one of the main things. I had to realize my attachment styles and I had to learn how to have a secure attachment style. And I had to learn my love languages and why I wanted words of affirmation. And it was always because I didn't receive them as a child. So it's all of these things that I had to learn, I should say unlearn, and to relearn in a more positive way. So it's taken me years to write this, a bunch of, it's all research based. And it's pretty much everything I did to help heal. So now this is allowing people to just expedite their healing process. Tony Robbins always talks about, what he's done, and he can take decades of the work that he's done and compress it into days. And that was one of the main reasons why I wrote this journal, to help people expedite their healing process.
I love it. And are you still, is your love language the same? You said that you understood why the words of affirmation was one of your love languages.
It's absolutely still it's still correlated with me wanting that, just words of affirmation that, I do matter and what I say has meaning. And also it's words of affirmation and physical touch. So I never really received that loving, nurturing physical touch. So now a lot of times what we lack or we don't receive in our childhood is actually what we want as adults. At least that's what I've learned in my case.
Wow. Yeah, I wonder, so after we heal, those would still be the same, I'm assuming. Like those love languages are still the same, even though we've healed, because somewhere in there, we still need to fill those voids.
Yeah, we're still that inner child in us. Yeah, is craving what we didn't receive. And that's what I found for me. Maybe it's different for other people, but I found that it's still the same for me.
Wow. What would be some tips for healing this childhood trauma, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's really realizing that we talked about before that a lot of people will project their limiting beliefs and their stories onto you. And we don't have to believe those stories. We can absolutely change the trajectory of our life. And I think for me, I had to really stop and I had to do a lot of introspection. Okay, why is this theme reoccurring in my life? Why am I still attracting these men that don't value me? And so I had to do a deep dive and really realize, like I talked about, coping mechanisms, stress responses, how I was disassociating with my feelings because that's what I learned as a child, avoiding conflict, minimizing who I was. And then sometimes it was like even drinking in college, I would try to disassociate with my feelings and try to suppress all of the pain and the suffering that I was going through with drinking, even though looking back, I thought I was just partying, having fun with my friends, but it was really a coping mechanism for me to try to rid myself of the pain that I was feeling.
Like our dads are doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Wow.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because I am pretty much like, we're very similar, but at the same time, I'm kind of like repulsive to people that treat me badly. So maybe because I pinpointed that one thing, I pinpointed that flaw and that thing it's just, like, this is why I have this flaw. This is why I'm attracting these people. So when somebody actually does not answer to me, like if I send a text message and they just ghost me, I'm very repulsive to that. Like I just click on, nope, this is not happening. And I think now I'm actually on the opposite, the other extreme, where maybe have I overhealed? What is happening?
Wow. I know.
Yeah.
I find a lot of times people will either follow the same patterns and they don't break them, as far as like drinking or continuing to let people treat them in a horrible way. Or I'm very similar to you. I want the complete opposite. I want to be nothing like my parents. And yeah, once you do the inner work and you realize your value and your worth, you will not put up with anything. And it breaks my heart, and I'm sure it does for you too, to know that we used to let people treat us like that. And that's not okay.
Yeah, it is so true. I'm like, man, I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, it's crazy. It does take a long time to heal trauma, for sure. Do you think, yeah, sorry.
I was just saying, and I think it's not like, oh, I'm healed and it's over. There's always things that are coming up for me all of the time. And it's just reflecting and knowing that, okay, this is happening, but I can change it. And so now when I go through certain situations, because I have these tools in my toolbox, it's easier for me to bounce back now. But we still go through things that we need to heal. And we're all humans. We're growing and evolving every day. And that's the beauty of being a human.
No, you're right. That's true. There's always something to perfect and improve.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so true. What about, do you think unresolved childhood trauma can affect a person's ability to form or sustain emotionally healthy relationships I think we actually just answered that pretty much. Yeah. Or how can this impact the success of their marriage?
Yeah, it's impacted so many of my relationships. And for the longest time, I had so much shame around where I came from. And I always felt like I wasn't good enough. So I would start dating someone and then I would have all of these limiting beliefs that I wasn't worthy of being in a relationship. How can this person like me? And I had to realize that you truly have to love yourself and you have to love everything about you before you can bring someone in to give that love to you. So it's always a reflection of who you are. So for me, it served me so well doing that inner work, and it's not easy. There's so many times too when I break down and cry and I don't think I'm good enough, but then I remind myself that I am. So, for me, it's still, I shouldn't say a constant struggle, but I still struggle with it. And it just gets easier. It definitely gets easier. And to have that support system behind you and know that you truly deserve a healthy relationship, I think that's really been key for me moving forward.
Wow. That's I don't think you struggle with it. I think you got this, girlie. You got
Oh,
this.
yeah,
Oh, wow. What about, do you have like a morning routine?
I do. Yes. Meditation, I actually have it in my journal too. That has been one of the main things that has really been pivotal in my life, really helping me get rid of any negative thought patterns and raise my vibrational frequency. Because when you have no thought alone, it's not like you're thinking, bad things about you. So it's brought me to a place of peace. And I also do a lot of visualization meditation too. So I'll visualize the future that I want for myself and I'll play it as if it already happened. And so every time I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing that I do. I also have another journal. It's called the Dream Bigger Manifestation Journal. So it has affirmations, it has gratitude, your power list of 5 non-negotiables, and then it has a journal prompt of actually visualizing the future that you want and writing as if it already happened. So I do that.
Ooh.
I do my red light therapy. I work out. So yeah, I definitely have a morning routine. I think it's pivotal to start your day on a high note and to just carry that momentum through the day.
You mentioned the frequency. Let's talk about that a little bit. That's like, I'm really fascinated with this whole frequency situation here. It's like this new thing, right? At least for me, I don't know, maybe it's been going on, but I'm seeing it a lot lately. How can individuals effectively shift their predominant thought frequencies to align with the principle of success and abundance? And what role do brain waves play in this transformation?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's helped me is you have to realize your thoughts. So, our subconscious programming from 0 to 18, our routines, our patterns, our behaviors, 95% of our subconscious is already created. So you have that 5% of your mind that's conscious. So you have to be very aware of the thoughts that you're thinking, because a lot of them, and for me, it was a lot of repetitive thoughts that I used to think. So you have to stop them, and you have to swap them for a more empowering belief, because right now, those thought patterns have such deep neural pathways in your brain. And so you constantly think the same thing. But in order to stop them, you have to keep swapping them for a new belief patterns, right? So it's unlearning all of those old patterns of belief and those thoughts and rewiring your brain to think more positively. And so that was the one thing that I really had to do. Every single thought that came to my mind, I'm like, is this thought serving me anymore? And if it wasn't, I had to start creating new neural pathways of the life that I truly wanted to have instead of living in my past. So it's a lot of rewiring your brain, because our brain is amazing. We give off, we'll talk more about frequency, but it has neuroplasticity. So that means we're able to change our thoughts. We're able to change our life. It's not constant. It doesn't have to stay the same. So I would just say, if you want to rewire your brain and get on a higher frequency, you have to realize the thoughts that you're thinking and you have to change them.
Wow. So changing the thoughts, man, that's basically you're just kind of getting outside of your head and then talking to yourself. It just sounds like sci-fi thing right now. Like, I'm trying to get to it. You basically have a thought and you're like, no, girl, can't have this thought. And then start thinking of something else to replace that thought. This is what I'm understanding, right?
Yeah. And one thing that helps me get out of that negative thought pattern is EFT tapping. So the emotional freedom technique, where you're tapping on certain meridian points, and that helps you release that energy and that thought a lot faster. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help expedite it. I can send you a video after, but yeah, it's like we tap here.
And I'm noticing I'm so shiny. It's the freaking light. Anyway.
Yeah. So
oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of techniques that you can use, but so going to frequency, so your thoughts, if you're thinking positive, high vibrational frequency thoughts, your happiness, you're in your authenticity, you're feeling so good, you're vibrating at such a high frequency. But if you're constantly thinking negative thoughts about yourself, or I'm not worthy of this, or good things never happen to me, that's a low vibrational frequency. So you're attracting that same thought pattern that you're thinking. So it's very imperative to really take into account of the thoughts that you're thinking every single day.
Wow, this sounds a little bit like manifestation type. So I'm hearing, okay, I'm. You probably think of me like, okay, this lady is like very old school. But for me,
No.
This is like, first we had the self-love, right? Like that turned into, I manifested this. Then turned into how to stay away from a narcissist. And then my least favorite was like, I'm in my feminine, he's in his masculine. Like these terms, I'm like, oh God. Yes. This is wild. What's happening? So I discussed the whole manifestation thing with a friend of mine who's a monk, a Christian Orthodox monk, and I want to know your thoughts about that, because what he said, and I think I did mention a little bit of that with you earlier. He said that he believes manifestation is a pagan activity. And it's interesting because I actually started reading a book. Well, I almost finished it. It's called The Return of the Gods, and how we're all thinking like all these different gods are coming back. And in many pagan traditions, there's a strong emphasis on the connection of all things, and the idea that humans have a direct influence on their environment and fate through their actions and intentions. So the concept of manifestation can be interpreted as aligning one's personal energy or vibrations with the universe to achieve desired outcomes, which is basically, we are gods that directly work with the universe. We're eliminating actually God. So the way he explained it, I was like, this is fascinating. Like to focus on self rather than on God's power and plan can be perceived as conflicting with the teachings that prioritize, submission to and reliance on God's actions and miracles, right?
Yeah,
So
I think that's fascinating. Yeah, I think that's fascinating. And I think a lot of times, people, I'm a Lutheran, I'm a Christian, and, they might refer to the idea of manifestation in the Bible as terms of faith and prayer and trust. So I think it's just the language that you're using, because I even have, in Matthew 21:22, it states that whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive if you have faith. So I really think it depends on, people use the word manifestation. I use that, but I also have that trust in God, and I have prayer, and I have that belief in him. So if you believe in him having, the best possible outcome for you, even if you want it to be a certain way, even if you want something to manifest in your life, I give it up to God. I know that he has a bigger, better plan for me than I could even imagine. But I do think it's important too to have a vision and know where you're going and know what you want to come in your reality. And when you pray for it and you have faith and trust, that will come into your life. So I really think it's the language that people use it in. And I think, it's in a lot of different religions. It's just called different things. That's my perspective, but
I like that. So basically, we should envision what we want, but ultimately give it to God and ask him, ask God if this is your will, this is what I would like, if this is also what you think I need, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just letting go. And there's a phrase, let go, let God, and know that he truly has your best intentions in mind. And there's been so many circumstances where I wanted things to happen a certain way. And I realized after the fact that it was God's protection. That didn't happen in my life because he's bringing so many things that are better for me to experience. And it's not rejection, it is protection. So I think of it like that. Whenever I don't get something that I want, I know that there's always something better.
God knows best. Yeah, that's why I wrote that book, God Knows Best. You just, if you actually think about it like that, then you live a stress-free life. It all happens for a reason, and God knows best. I love it. I love that we're soul sisters here. This is
Yes,
so
we are.
awesome. Wow. What is your all-time favorite book?
My all-time favorite book, I would have to say, I think there's two of them. One of them is called The Power of One More by my mentor, Ed Mylett. I'm not sure if you read it, but he was the one in his family that changed the generational curses. His father was an alcoholic too, and I just resonate with him so deeply. And he just talks about, you're one conversation away, you're one connection, you're one rep, you're one podcast away from completely transforming your life. And we're so much closer than we really think we are to success and our desires. So that book was so pivotal in my life. And Jamie Kern Lima wrote the book Worthy, and she has so many incredible points, but it just basically talks about, we are worthy because we're born. That's our God-given right, and we don't have to use outside circumstances to define who we are. And there's just so many golden nuggets in there. And she does talk about that, if it's rejection, it's really God's protection. So there's so many things that I love about both of those books. So I'd have to say those two. Mm-hmm.
Ed Mylett should pay you because he should put you on his payroll because I'm buying that book. You gave me goosebumps. I was like, wait, what? Wow. Yes, it sounds like I need that book. Yes. And what about your favorite all-time quote?
Yes, it's by Napoleon Hill, and it's whatever the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. And so it just goes to show how powerful your mind is. And if you make a decision and you end up going for it and you have that faith and that knowing within yourself that you can absolutely achieve anything you want, any goal, any desire that you want, it's yours.
Very nice. So you have a lot of the empowerment, like you're very big on empowering people and self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best compliment you've ever received?
Wow, this is a hard one, and no one's ever asked me this, but I think it would be that I have a beautiful soul. I hear that a lot, and I think I want the best for people, and I will push you because I know that people can achieve greatness, right? We were all born to do something great with our life, and I like to reignite and spark that in other people. And if I see that they're lacking and slacking in any way, I remind them who they are and who they're here to become. And so for me, I never had that growing up. And now that I'm able to give that to other people because I'm able to give it to myself, it's been transformative for me.
Let me guess. I think the person that complimented you was actually a female because men don't really.
Yeah, they don't say that.
And if they do, it's like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah.
What does he want here?
Exactly. Yeah, it was definitely a female that said that to me.
And I'm honestly for me, a compliment that comes from a female means so much more because women don't really give compliments unless they really mean it. And especially something of that nature, like you have a good soul, that means you really have a good soul. And not just that, but that also says, thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for opening up. A lot of things. Like we have a thing. We speak a very profound language. But, man, oh, you're hot. Okay. Thanks for the compliment. That doesn't mean anything. It's I'm always like, well, if a female complimented me, I appreciate it a lot more. What about you? Is it more important to receive a compliment from a woman or a man? Is there a difference?
That's interesting you asked that question. So I think for me, it's more important to receive a compliment from a man. That's truly from his soul and that he means it. And I really think it has to do with my childhood growing up, because I always craved my father's love. And I would try to do, and one thing that I've learned, and I talked about this on the show with Ed Mylett, is a lot of people conflate significance with love. And so I would try to get straight A's. I would try to get, the number one medal when I was competing in gymnastics, because I wanted reassurance. I wanted validation, because I thought that was love from my parents when I got that. That would be the time where they would compliment me and I actually felt good about myself. But I think we conflate that, because it's always looking for outside validation from other people, when we're truly born with unconditional love. We're born in the grace of God, and we're born through passion and love. And so we are unconditional love. And so we shouldn't have to receive it. We already are it. And so that was one of the main things that I had to learn, that, I'm loved because I am, because I exist, rather than me having to perform or do something to get a promotion or to make $1 million or whatever it is. It's so different. So that was one of the things that I had to realize. But going back to your question, for me, I do think it's important that I receive it from a man, just because of how I grew up.
Wow. It's going to have to be a very deep man, a very special one. Yes. Yes. And you know what? I actually noticed, like, a lot of us, we look for Jesus in men, right? A lot of us women, I realized, like, the moment I stopped and realized Jesus is inside of us, we are him, he's inside of us. I'm actually, like, I'm not finding things because I haven't actually had that realization. I have him inside of me. And the only thing that I'm lacking is that realization. I don't need to find him in other people. I don't need to search for him. I just, he's here. So yeah, but like you said, if words of affirmation are the love language, he needs to get on that deep level and start talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't like, I feel like you're the same way, but I don't like surface level conversations. I'm a very deep soul, and I am very introverted too. So it's only I open up to people that I feel safe around. So thank you so much for giving me this platform and for you to bring that out in me, because I usually am not this honest and open with a lot of people. So.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Yes. I'm very introverted and socially awkward, actually, I noticed. So yeah, I'm very thankful. Yeah. And sometimes I think it's, when you're around certain people that make you feel like you don't belong somewhere. And I think this kind of goes back to a job I had during the pandemic. And I was the only unvaccinated person. So I was the pariah, right, at the time. And everybody's just treating me like really badly, and not only the accent, because I have an accent, and not only I'm new, I had just moved from Israel to Virginia, so it kind of messed with my I was a little bit socially awkward for a while, still kind of, but the podcasting thing really helps, and that's actually one of the reasons why I started the podcast, so I can get myself back. I can start being less socially awkward, still talk to people, be able to open without, having all that trauma from that freaking job.
Wow.
But yeah.
That pain that you went through, though, is pushing you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. So I always look at certain situations like that as, it's an obstacle, but it's pushing you to become better. So that's amazing that you did start that.
Same with our childhood. If you think about it, all the trauma made us a lot deeper, we're not, the typical surface level people. We actually have a lot more wisdom thanks to what we've gone through. So it's a win-win. I mean, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
we're blessed.
I definitely wouldn't change it either. I'll get asked all the time, would I want to change my father and what I went through? And as hard as it was for probably both of us, I wouldn't change it because, like you said, we wouldn't seek outside information or mentors or go really deep and do all this introspection if we didn't have to heal from what we went through. So your pain really becomes your purpose in life. And now, we get to share our stories and help empower other people. So I do think, like you said, God always has a bigger plan for us.
Oh, amen. And your journal, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have helped so many people. I'm sure it's going to help me. So that is, it's amazing. And to get to inspire people, and you have all these younger girls that are like, wow, she's pretty and she has a journal that can help me. And these things are actually, so it is,
Thank you.
we're blessed. I saw on your Instagram, there was this one post, it's a reel, and you were talking about like back to the thought frequencies and stuff. But what my question on that was, because you said by focusing on positive and empowering thoughts, you attract similar experiences and opportunities. You were in the car, I think it's one of your like latest reels.
Yeah.
And so my question to that was, how do you propose individuals discern and transform deep-seated subconscious thought patterns that might somehow shape their reality in order to align their thought frequencies with their subconscious aspirations for success and fulfillment? Is this a deep question? I'm sorry if it is.
Yeah. No, I love this question too. And, we talked about stopping and swapping your negative beliefs for more empowering beliefs. But I also learned that, and Tony Robbins talks about this too, if you're feeling at a low vibrational frequency, you're feeling maybe you're depressed or you have anxiety or you're just feeling sad, if you make a radical change in your body, like getting up, dancing, moving around, listening to your favorite song, going to the gym, doing a great workout, it instantly will raise your vibrational frequency. And I find that when I'm working out or when I'm doing things that I love and I feel so free. I love going hiking. I love going out in nature. I get so many positive, empowering thoughts about my future, what I want to create, and all of these like visions come to me. So I really think it has to do with movement in your body. And then I also think it has to do with your environment, right? If you're in a really negative environment around people who, maybe are just not positive, they're drinking, they're partying, that's a low vibrational frequency. But if you're surrounded by people who are making their dreams come true, who are living out who they're supposed to be who they're meant to be, it's a very different feeling. So I think, moving your body, realizing your thought patterns, and then surrounding yourself with empowering people will all lift your vibrational frequency to make you feel so much better.
I feel like I'm doing all of that during this podcast. Actually very strange, but I just, like this morning, I posted a reel, and the guest that I had, and this is probably a sign, maybe I need to work out more. But my guest, and I think you guys would do an amazing episode together, Luis Montoya. He is also, you two he said the same thing as you just did. I'm like, wow, can you imagine the episode you two would do?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, very, very cool. I'll put you two in touch. And I think that would be an amazing, the same thing, he just said the same. He's like, you have to start working from outside in, basically keep moving, keep changing, your body needs that. So he's explaining it. I'm like, wow, you sound the same, you guys. Can you, what about your thing where you said something about like, I don't know, maybe this is something that you teach. Maybe this is a class you're offering. I'm not sure. But if it is something that I should pay for, let me know. Don't give free information here. But like, can you briefly give us some tips on how to decalcify our pineal gland and how to grow our hippocampus?
So I actually learned this from one of my mentors, Kevin Trudeau. He used to be part of the elite class, the top 1%. He's built multi-billion-dollar businesses. And so these are things that the elite class knows that they don't want like the average person to know. And I get mentorship from him. So I'll share this information. So it has to do a lot with our genetics. So a lot of time, people are born into the working class and they're born with a smaller hippocampus, which is essentially your hippocampus and your pineal gland transmit and receive frequency. So our brain is giving off frequencies all of the time. It's kind of like a radio wave. We can't see it, but we know it's there. It's like getting a text message on our phone. We don't know how it gets there. And I think the best way I can describe it is when you think of a person and they text or call you, that's because you're giving off that frequency. And so he talks about ways to amplify that frequency, that broadcast that you're giving off with your brain. And so I think a lot of it, obviously they know. And so when I went to the dentist, I would always get those, fluoride treatments. And so fluoride actually, it makes your teeth hard, but it calcifies your pineal gland. So it inhibits your ability to be able to transmit frequencies with your brain, impacting your ability to manifest things in your life. And there's so many chemicals, there's so many heavy metals that also bring down in your vibrational frequency, and they'll also they'll calcify your pineal gland. And so just a few things to like decalcify your pineal gland are, drinking a lot of spring water. So make sure it's spring water. Make sure it's not like the smart water and the infused water. Like I mentioned, no fluoride. There's something called chlorella, lion's mane mushrooms, moringa, B12, B6 is really helpful. Spirulina, that actually helps get rid of neurotoxins in your brain and heavy metals. Changa, which is also another mushroom, turmeric. So those are the main things that I use to help decalcify my pineal gland. And one thing to grow your hippocampus, and I know you attend these events too, is going to masterminds, surrounding yourself with people who have what you want, who are so much more successful, because he talks about their photons that are being emitted from their brain are actually bouncing off you. And it actually creates kind of like an antenna effect. They call it the mastermind because you're no longer one mind, you're more than one mind. I know this probably sounds crazy, but it's so true, because I know every single time I leave an event that is a networking event or a really empowering event, I feel like so many incredible things happen. So it's really surrounding yourself by really incredible people to grow your hippocampus. Another thing you could do is walking in nature. So nature sounds like crickets and birds and those repetitive sounds also put you in a theta wave brain frequency. So those are just some things you can do to help, be able to broadcast and transmit higher frequencies.
Very interesting about these mushrooms, because I work for the government. What kind of mushrooms are we talking? Because they actually test me. Is there like something that would be like hallucinogens or like?
No. So they're like lion's mane mushroom. I know that they have mushroom coffee, and then changa. They're all natural. Safe. Yeah, they're not like psychedelic or whatever that all that is.
And which one was it? B6 and B12, right? You said
yes. Mm-hmm. And also, I know that the moringa has like 46 essential nutrients that your body needs, and it's actually anti-aging too. It doesn't taste the greatest. I put it in my smoothie, but that is one of the things that also helps decalcify your brain. So a lot of things that are green, like chlorella, like the moringa I was talking about, spirulina, those are all incredible things to just help rid your body of those toxins.
But my goodness, the flavor on those.
Yeah, sometimes they're not great. I like to mix them in my smoothie so I don't really taste them. But yeah, they're not that tasty.
Yeah, I started doing this green juice. A friend of mine introduced me to this like spinach, celery. It's all a bunch of green stuff every morning. And I lost like 12 pounds in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm done because I don't want to be a lollipop right now. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
So the dress is like super loose on me, as you can see. So
Oh
I'm like,
my
okay,
God.
I'm done with the green
You're
drinks.
sweetie.
Yeah, because of the freaking green drinks. But they were healthy.
Wow.
It's just that, so for sure,
So
gotta,
funny.
yeah, gotta be on the, but I think I do like the whole working out. What do you do when you work out? Do you do like a lot of weights or do you do cardio or?
Yeah, I do a lot of sprints. I love hot yoga. That's one of my go-tos just
Oh,
because usually when I'm running or I'm doing weightlifting, I don't really sweat too much. So I like a really good sweat because I know I work out. And hot yoga, vinyasa, you get the best workout. It's amazing. You walk out of there and you feel like $1,000,000. So I highly
really?
recommend doing, yes, hot yoga.
So I've never done any yoga thing. So I don't even know what,
Wow.
because for the long time, it's, like I obviously come from Romania, a very old school country, and it's the Christian Orthodox, they're very old school. So I've always associated yoga with like Buddhism, all that stuff. So I stayed away from that because I thought it was more like doing the thing and meditating outside of my Christian, like monotheistic
Yeah.
orthodoxy thing.
Mhm.
And then now I'm like, wait, it's actually a workout. I'm willing to try that, but I've never heard of the hot one. So that's pretty cool. You have to go meet them somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. And honestly, I've learned that trauma also gets stored in certain parts of our body. So when I do yoga and we do specific poses and we hold them for a long time, it's actually releasing that. And so I found myself to be able to heal a lot faster because I'm releasing that energy and that tension that's stored. So it's helped me tremendously.
Very cool. You're teaching me all kinds of stuff here.
Oh,
Yes.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I actually, yeah, I'm willing to give that a try. I've been I've been intrigued and I was looking at some studios and I'm like, you know what? It's a, doing something with the body. I'm not, I'm not cheating on God here, people.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
definitely.
You could do a
But
gentle flow to start off with, and you'll love it.
yes, I'll take it easy and at least to kind of see,
Yeah.
especially if it helps with the body and all that. What is like the most important lesson you've learned in life?
Oh man. Um, I think one of the most important things that I mentioned before is you don't have to let other people, what they say about you, the projection of how they feel about themselves, determine where you're going in life. You have absolute control of whatever you're doing. Like, we create our own reality. So you don't have to live by the memories of your past. You can paint a bright future. And I think the biggest thing for me is I didn't have to believe all those red light stories that my father would tell me, that I can create my own and know that that you can just change your life by your thoughts alone. So that has been really pivotal in my life, to know that information.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And actually, like growing up, I've never shared anything about me with anybody in my family. I was very, very, even my mother's like, I didn't know anything about you. I never knew you even had tattoos at the age of 13. They never knew
Yeah.
anything about me. And I think it's because I never really wanted to be influenced. Even like right now, we're best friends, me and my mom. But like right now,
Mhm.
she's always like, "Oh, you're too old to be an actress. Why are you even, So those type of things, I'm like, I always, whenever I go on a casting, I don't even mention anything to anyone. I'm just going there. I'm not mentioning because I don't want to be influenced, and not just influenced, but they're putting negativity in the universe. Uh, so a lot of people would do that, and it's so annoying when people do that to someone. And did you ever
Mhm.
realize, like, why would you want to get real estate advice from a homeless person? Same, like she's never been an actress. Why are you telling me I'm too old? Wait, a lot of actors started in their 40s. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like, no, you're not, you're, this is not helpful. This is,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're projecting those beliefs about themselves onto you, right? And I've had to learn too. I've had to take an inventory, and sometimes I'll respect what people say to me, but I don't necessarily have to believe them. I don't have to adopt their opinions. And I think another important piece is too, you have to learn from people who have what you want. So, for example, your mother is telling you, "Oh, why are you going to a casting call when you want something so different, right?" So I would, talk to people who are big in the industry, who have made it happen for themselves, rather than listening to your parents who have never became a model or became an actress. So
Right. It's, yeah. It's not, especially a person that she's actually been a teacher her whole life. So it's a
oh,
Monday through Friday type of thing, the rat race that you got out of because you knew better. So it's like, really, this is outside of the what you're used to, and it's okay. That is okay. I respect that, but I'm just not. I'm just trying to do other things. So yeah,
yeah.
I love that what you learned in life. Very, very valuable lesson. What is your biggest fear?
So I've had to realize that fear is just made up in your mind, and it's something that never even happened yet. So I would say at this point, I don't really have any fears. I know that everything's truly happening for my good. I know that God has a huge plan for me, and so I just let go. And life is so much better knowing that, everything is already done. It's already yours, and it's going to be coming to you in perfect time. So I let go of fears, and I just trust. I have so much trust now. So
I
I
love
don't think I have
it.
any.
Wow. I think you have no fears. If you have no fears, then you probably have no regrets either. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. I mean, I feel like if I could go back and do things differently, I would, knowing what I know now, but I also know that I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't go through all those mistakes and all those obstacles, because I wouldn't have never learned from them. So, yeah, I don't think I have any regrets either.
Yep, I figured. I'm like, I'm already. I think we've been speaking for well a little bit over an hour because of all my mistakes with the whole, but trying to get this thing to work. But I think I already understood you. It's you're very transparent, like an open book, very honest and
Thank
very,
you.
yeah. What I think I'm going to ask you two more questions, then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to ask is what's something people would be surprised to know about you?
I think it's growing up how I did in a very toxic environment. I think so many people assume that I've came from a family that has bought me everything and who has put me through college, and I come from a loving, caring household, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I've had to support myself. I had a job since I was about 10 years old. Like, I've always had to support myself. And so I think people seeing me now and what I was able to accomplish, people are so surprised when I open up and I share my story of how I, went through my childhood. So I think that is definitely surprising when I share my story.
Yeah. Yeah, you never struck me for like one of those bougie white girls or anything like that. I never got the vibe that you were, those entitled, like my daddy's
Yes.
girl. I didn't get that because you're very friendly. You just have a different vibe. But I could see
Thank
how some
you.
people, oh, because she's pretty, she's probably, she's got it all. She's had
Yeah.
yeah, I can see how that could be.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there any question you wish I'd asked?
Ooh. Um, that's a good question. I don't know. I think you did an amazing job on this interview. Like I said, I was able to open up and, share my story, and I'm usually not this open. So I think you did an
Oh,
amazing job with your question. So I honestly, one can't come to mind right now.
no, oh my goodness. That's awesome. That means we hit the spot with what is it, an hour and 15 minutes. And I am very, very thankful. And I am so excited to meet you like in person in November. I'm gonna
I
come
know.
to yes, RISCON. And for those that don't know, RISCON is an amazing conference. It's gonna be
Mhm.
in Las Vegas. Is it at Rio? I think it's at Rio this year, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
think
Yep.
so.
Mhm.
Yes. And they're actually renovating Rio now, so it's gonna be nice.
Oh, wow. Ooh, I'm
Yes.
excited.
Yeah, because you know how it's one of the older ones. So it's
Mhm.
good that they're gonna
It's going to be all
make it
renovated
nicer.
just in time.
Yes, just in time, and we're gonna have a great time. Amazing speakers and amazing people. Uh, a bunch of us are gonna be there. Mike and Keith and oh, have you met Ken? Ken Jocelyn?
Yeah, I'm really close with him. Yes, I
Oh
know Ken. He's
my
very
gosh, amazing! So we know a lot of
Mhm.
people. That's freaking awesome. That is
Yeah, I know
amazing. Yeah.
Greg Reed is going to be there as well. My friend Vinny, he's a country
Oh,
music artist.
Vinny! Oh,
He's going to be
yes.
there.
Yeah. I love
Mhm.
Vinny. And his wife, too. She's amazing. Yes.
Yes,
Oh, that
I can't
is
wait.
fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to November. And I really
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.